Hi everyone, for this session we are going to discuss environmental health and toxicology. So basically we are going to define these terms. We have environmental health and toxicology. And since we are going to deal with toxicology, we're going to define what are toxins and what are the example of toxic agents that might harm our environment. So the first one here, we have the definition of environmental health. And if you try to observe, we have here the picture of a weighing scale balancing between the people and the environment. Now, balance is good. However, if you try to observe, number of the population increases yearly, and a huge number of population might overwhelm the planet Earth, and in result, products and as a consequences of anthropological activities might harm our environmental health, and it will go back again as the effect to the people, simply because if our environment will be contaminated, it might impair, it might affect the health of an individual. So what is really environmental health? Now, environmental health, by definition, this is a branch of public health concerned with all the aspects of the natural and built environment affecting the human health, just like what I said earlier. And they focuses on a disease-causing factors. These are the external factors, such as the elements of the natural. So this is naturally occurring in the planet Earth. They are there already. Social, the way how we interact with each other. Cultural, these are the norms, the traditions. And technological worlds, so these are now the technology in which we are we are building, simply because we need to provide the needs of everybody. In addition, we have here Rachel Carson's. She was able to publish a book entitled The Silent Spring in the year 1962, to be exact, September 27. This is Silent Spring is an environmental science book in which it talks about the effect, focus on the discharge, not only the effect. We have the discharge, the movement, the fate, and the effects of synthetic chemical toxins, most specifically the pesticides. So if you are familiar with pesticides, these are the chemicals which is being used by the farmers or an individual, perhaps, if you are going to kill a pest. Okay. Next, we have the definition of health. Now, health, as being defined by the World Health Organization, this is the state of a complete physical, mental, and social being. However, it doesn't mean that you are healthy, you cannot get a disease, because in addition to the definition, it is also included that not merely the absence of a disease or infirmity. So taken together, health is defined as the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of the disease. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you're healthy, you cannot get a disease. You can still acquire them from the environment, from the food that you are eating, from the individual that you are interacting, in your environment, perhaps in your in your houses, in your home, etc. However, what we could also say that being healthy means to say you can live happier, you can live longer, you can be more productive. At the same time, you would be satisfied in your life. That is why we have this saying that health is wealth. So there is really a need for you to be healthy in order for you to achieve a peace of mind internally, peace internally within your system, and peace externally within yourself, the way how you interact. Of course, if you are not healthy, it might affect how you interact with the other people, the way how you socialize with them, especially if you are having a contagious disease. So it's not good to interact with other people simply because you might affect them. Okay, so this is the definition of being healthy. Health, this is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. What else? We also have here the definition of a disease. Now, disease is being defined as the abnormal change in the body's function. Okay? So, body's function or body's condition, basically, if you're talking about the body, we are referring to the different system in our body. And scientifically speaking, there are 11 systems in our body. So, what are the examples? We have endocrine system, we have reproductive system, we have digestive system. What else? We have cardiovascular system, we have lymphatic system, we have immune system, and so on and so forth. So, if you are experiencing disease, a certain disease, therefore there is a change, there is an impairment, there is something wrong within your body. In addition, disease is being defined as the impairment of the important physiological body function. So having a disease is not good simply because it indicates that there is something wrong with your body. So what are an example? So we have hypertension, we have what LBM or diarrhea, we have diabetes, we have Alzheimer's disease, we have goiter, etc., etc. So there is already an impairment of your body. Okay, so I hope I made myself clear here for the definition and example of the disease. In this figure, this is an example of major sources of environmental health risk in which we are being associated into, we are being exposed, and we are being susceptible of this risk. And in fact, we usually encounter them most of the time, every day of our life. So what are the examples? So let's start with the toxins. So what are the examples of toxins here? I hope you can see this PowerPoint presentation, this picture, this figure. This is a bleach, chemicals. We have smoke from a cigarette. These are the examples of toxins. We also have infectious agents. We have bacteria, we have protozoa, and then we also have viruses. And so right now we are experiencing pandemic, and this is cause of a virus, specifically the coronavirus. So it's not good simply because if once it is being introduced in our body through once this bacteria, protozoa, or the viruses had a portal entry in our body, such as open wound, the mouth, nose, lower percentage eyes, so technically they are pathogen. It is not good in our body. It can cause disease. What else? We also have trauma. So in this case, we have accidents, mechanical. So accidents. What are the examples for the accidents such as trauma? So forever, or it's not totally forever, but of course injured in the limbs, either upper, lower limbs, your vertebral, your skull, which is not good because these will serve as protection for your internal organs, your visceral organs. Visceral organs, these are the organs which is located inside their body. So we have intestine, we have stomach, we have the brain, we have the heart, etc. We also have pollution. So we have different forms of pollution: water pollution, air pollution, land pollution, noise pollution, and these are technically the products of the increased number of population yearly. So we are the contributors of the pollutants, and in return we will be affected by it. Lastly, we have here radiation, so ultraviolet rays from the sun, and we also have ionizing from the factories, which is not good simply because radiation could alter our genetic makeup, and it could cause mutations of a certain organism or living entities. Okay, What else? And then we have pollution. So pollution, by definition, this is undesirable change in the environment, and it is the one that contaminates the environment, no? So pollution, pollutants, contaminants, so it could cause an undesirable change in our environment. There are three ways in which pollutants are being introduced to our environment. First, we have area sources or non-point sources. The second one, we have the point sources. Third, we have the mobile sources. So what's the difference between the three? Area sources or non-point sources, these are what? These are the pollutants which is widespread in our environment. They are they are emitted, and they are dispersed pollutants. They are widely distributed in our environment. What are the examples? Let's say we have radiation, we have water pollution, we have garbages. These are everywhere, no? In addition to that one, we could also consider mobile sources an example of area sources or non-point sources because they are found everywhere. The second one, we have point sources. Point sources, by definition, it introduces pollutants to the environment. So here in this example, point, meaning to say madali lang siya kasi it's not widespread, so you can technically point it out who are the source of those pollutants. Okay, so in this example, we have a factory. So let's say in the nearby areas, the water itself, the body of water is being polluted, so technically you can point where exactly is the source of that contaminants or that pollutants. Either we have here in this example, we have land pollution, water pollution, and air pollution. Third, we have mobile sources. Mobile meaning to say it's moving. Okay, so it also contribute pollutants, and the best example for this, we have the exhaust of a vehicle. Okay, now next we have the definition of toxicology. So toxicology, this is the study of toxins, and toxins, these are poisons. So it's not good, of course, no? It's not good for living organisms, and not only living organisms, as well as non-living organisms such as the environment itself, and its effects to both biotic and abiotic entities in the environment. So biotic, bio means life, living organism. Abiotic meaning to say not living organisms, non-living things. So therefore we could say that toxicology, this is the study of toxins that could affect both the living and non-living entities. So here in this example, this is the diagram showing the movement of the toxins and the effect for both biotic and abiotic entities. So these are the sources in the left column, left side. So let's say we have energy generation, we have the coal plants, for example, to be specific. We also have industries, factories, mining companies, no, the production of what mining, pagmimina. So technically they're using so many chemicals in order for them to attain, or in order for them to mine. So what are the effects? These are the sources. Let's say we have environmental effects and health effects for human person as well as for the environment. Environmental effects, so this is the ozone layer depletion, of course, simply because too much they are emitting carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. Now let's say for the exhaust of the vehicle, we have carbon monoxide, for the factories and for the coal plant, carbon dioxide. If they keep on emitting that every day, therefore there is an increase of greenhouse gases. Okay, now greenhouse gases, these are the gases which is being suspended in the atmosphere, which is being emitted by the factories, caused by the anthropological activities or human activities. If there is an increase of greenhouse effect, since we are being protected by the ozone layer, so this ozone layer keep on depleting. That's the term we have nabuslot, but technically it's not nabuslot. No, the there is a hole. According to them, there is a hole of the ozone layer, but in fact it's not a hole. This is the depletion of the ozone layer. Panipis ng panipis because of the increase of the greenhouse gases. And what will happen since there is already the depletion of the ozone layer? So the ultraviolet rays of the sun can be penetrated in the planet Earth easily kasi manipis na po yung ozone layer natin. So what are the results? Of course, no? So we have the global warming, the increase of the temperature globally. We have the rise of the sea levels because there is already the melting of the icebergs due to the increase of the temperature, and many more. What else? We also have here, aside from that one, we also have acid rain. This is a product. Acid rain is a product of a sulfur cycle wherein the sulfur is being introduced into the environment. And acid rain is not good. Of course, they could what do you call that? Ang tawag dyan, nakakasira po ito, no? So let's say, if you try to observe, I don't know if you observe that already. However, there are some monuments in which in a long run their paint will not last in a long period of time, or let's say the cement is kanang di na bitaw siya buo. So nabuslot, it's not typically nabuslot, but na-deform siya yung mga monument made up of cement. So those are the effect of an acid rain in which long run siya mangyayari. Okay? We also have air pollution, we have land pollution, contamination in the groundwater, and then we have water pollution. Here in this case, we have health effects. So acute poisoning, we also have chronic health debilitation. Chronic health debilitation, these are the long-term diseases, and in some cases they cannot be treated easily, or they cannot be treated anymore. Okay? And they are being developed because of the toxins which is being introduced to you from the environment, or from the food that you eat, or from the environment in which you work, etc., etc. And lastly, we also have the environmental degradation. So imagine, let's say, these are virgin forests, and then the people or the company bought the area. They are planning to commercialize that area, so they are building the energy generator, charcoal plant. They're building a factories, or perhaps they're planning to degrade the soil because they will mine there. So these are the result, environmental degradation. Now, these are the top 20 toxic and hazardous substances, materials, example of the materials and their major sources, where we could find them or we could locate them. Number 1, we have arsenic, so treated lumber, lead, paint or gasoline, mercury, we have coal combustion, vinyl chloride, plastics industrial uses, PCBs, we have electric insulation, benzene, we have gasoline industrial use, cadmium, we have batteries, benzopyrene, we have waste incineration, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, we have combustion, sa car po ito, sa mga sasakyan or sa mga motor, benzofluorantine, we have fuels, chloroform, water purifications or in the industry, DDT, this is for pesticide use, Aroctor 1254, plastics, and 1260, solvent for trichloroethylene, we also have the benz, anthracene, incinerations, deldrine, we have pesticides, chromium for paints, etc. Chlordane, we have pesticides as well as hexachlorobutadiene. Now, technically, why is it included? Why do I include this broad field in biochemistry, histology, pathology, pharmacology, and other discipline? This is now one of the definition of the environmental science, wherein there is an interaction between different field of sciences or natural sciences. So biochemistry, how does it works? What are their, let's say we have here the materials, the mercury, the benzene, so their chemical composition, how does it works, what are the effects? Histology, what are the effects in the tissues? This is now the exposure of this toxin to an individual, human person. So basically, we'll be dealing with cells and tissues. That's histology. Pathology, this is what? The study of the disease. So since there is already an exposure, so therefore pathology is, no, so in the laboratory, you run your test in the laboratory, and the disease, there is something wrong which is being indicated in the lab, so the pathologist will indicate that. Pharmacology, this is for the medicines, for the prescriptions, and many more. Okay, so yeah, we could say that environmental science is the interaction of many different fields. Another we have here, these are now the classification of the toxic agents. So first one we have allergens. So allergens, by definition, this is technically, it came from the word allergic reaction, allergens. So it activates the immune system. Immune system, if you are familiar with this one, since many of the webinars nowadays are talking about how to boost our immune system in order for us to combat coronavirus. So same with this one, we need to activate, it activates the immune system for the allergens once you are being introduced into it. So kunyari merong allergen, so technically it will activate your immune system, your immune response, your immune cells will be activated. And what are the examples? So let's say for instance we have the use of used in plastics, fabrics, glue, insulation, wood products, or let's say we have the dogs, we have insects, we have smoke if you're allergic with that. So therefore these allergens will activate your immune system. So it could also build a sick building syndrome. This is most usually if allergens are introduced, if allergens will be introduced to you, so these are the most common reactions of your body. We have headaches, we have allergies, we have fatigue, and any other, or let's say we have sinuses or running nose, most common. You will your reaction of your body once there is an allergen. Ayan, okay. Another one, we have immune system depressant or ISD. So if allergens activates the immune system, in this case from the word itself, depressant, so it suppresses the immune system. So it does not activate your immune system, rather it depresses, it suppresses your immune response. So therefore we could say that the immune cells in your immune system could no longer function naturally, or it could no longer function. It makes the immune system susceptible to opportunistic infection since it suppresses or it depresses the immune responses. So what are the examples? We have pesticides residues, or we also have the PCBs or the polychlorinated biphenyls. Now, where could we get them? Okay, so saan po natin ito makikita? We have paint, we had printing inks for newspaper, if you are reading newspapers, ayan, you're familiar with that. Clothing pigments or dyes, and then we also have pesticides, old fluorescent light ballast, lubricants, and hydraulic fluids. Next, we have the endocrine system disruptors, or what we know as DEST. Now, our endocrine system, it is responsible of producing hormones, and hormones plays a vital role in our body. Okay, so what are the examples of the hormones? We have androgen, we have estrogen, we have progesterone, we have many more. We have so many hormones in our body that plays a specific role. Now, endocrine system disruptor toxic agent interfere with the function of the normal chemical messengers. And in fact, there are two types of ASD. One is a hormone mimics or the mimicry, and the other one is a hormone blocker. Now, hormone mimics, they have a similar shape to the natural hormones and amplify their effects. Hormone blockers, by definition, it prevent the natural hormones from attaching to the target organ. Now, what does it mean? To simply understand this concept for the ESD, hormone mimic and hormone blocker, let's try to look at this figure here. So this is a normal hormone process. Let's say this is the target cell, and in order for our body to function naturally, so our nervous system will send signal to the endocrine system to produce hormone and deliver it to a target cell. So let's say this is the target cell in our body. This is the hormone. And the surface, at the surface of our cell, meron yan siya. Let's say we have let's say this is the immune system. Okay, so meron yan siyang mga receptors. Receptors will serve as the receiver area. These are the receptionists if you are going to make an analogy to a hotel. So receptor are receptionists. They are the one that receives the hormone in order for this target cell to function naturally. Now, what happens when the toxic agents will come into the picture? In this case, we have a hormone mimic and a hormone blocker. Hormone mimic meaning to say they will copy the shape of They will copy the shape of the hormone itself, and instead of the hormone to bind in the target cell, they are the one that will bind to the target cell. Okay, now this is the receptor, so this is the shape of the receptor. Therefore, even if this is estrogen like chemical is not circle, however, for the face in which the face of this chemical facing to the receptor is the same, almost the same with the estrogen. So, ma-receive pa rin yun siya ni receptor. And instead of the hormone, ito na siya, yung chemical na yung na-attach dito for the target cell. So, this is for mimicry. The second one, we have blocker. So, totally they will block it. Okay, so anti-androgen chemical. In this case, so this is the hormone, this is the receptor, so they will block the receiver area so that the hormone now could no longer attach to the target cell. Now, there are so many suspective ESD or endocrine disrupting chemicals. We have industrial chemicals, we have synthetic and naturally occurring hormones. So, ito po yung mga contraceptive pills. The best example for this, mga hormones po is estrogen. Pharmaceutical drugs, we also have pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. Personal care products, yung mga shampoo, yung mga cosmetics, what else, feminine wash, etc. And we also have metals. Now, there are 10 toxic chemicals in personal and skincare products. So, number 1, we have the aluminum and aluminum powder. So, this number 1 is usually found in deodorant. So, if you are using, then yeah, of course, I think everybody, simply because we need them for our hygiene. But know that one of the component of our deodorant is aluminum and aluminum powder, which is considered as toxins. Number 2, we have BHE. So BHE stands for beta hydroxyl acid, and the function of this one is for peeling your skin. So let's say you want to get instantly, anong tawag dyan, gusto mo pumuti agad, so you are using a peeling agent pampaputi. So those cosmetic products are containing BHE. Number 3, we have formaldehyde releasers. So these are examples of those chemicals that releases a formaldehyde. Number 4, we have fluoride. This example, we have toothpaste, of course. This is for the function of fluoride is to strengthen your teeth. Number 5, we have fragrances, perfumes, for examples. Number 6, we have hydroquinone. So hydroquinone, this is a skin lightening agent. So yung mga lotion natin, no, mga gusto nyo pumuti, so or mga soap, ayan, meron sila. Number 5, we have methylsothiosolinone, MI. So it's very hard to pronounce them. and considering that it's very hard to pronounce, so therefore your body is, how much more for your body to digest or to interact with these chemicals you are introducing to them. What are the examples of those products containing MI? So we have body washes, your body wash, you have hand soaps, you also have moisturizers. Ayan, meron sila they are containing MI. We also have hair products, hair dyes, shampoos, conditioners, pet care. If you have pet, then you also have paint and many more. And the number 8, we have parabens. So parabens is used for preservatives. Okay. So, and since we're talking about preservatives, we're referring to alcohol. So we have propyl, isopropyl, butyl, isobutyl. These are the examples of parabens. Number 9, we have phthalates. So phthalates are what? These are the chemicals in which you could find them in toys, mga laruan po. We have vinyl flooring, wall covering, we have detergent, lubricating oils, food packaging, pharmaceuticals sa mga drugs and equipment, blood bags and tubings, and we also have personal care products such as nail polish, hairspray, so makikita sila mga soap, etc. Number 10, we have triclosan and triclocarbon. So, saan po yan sila makikita? So, same pa rin, mga pet shampoo, pet care, face wash, yung toothpaste, dishwashing liquid, liquid soap, body wash, shave gel, ano pa, mga antibacterial hand gel, yung mga ginagamit natin ngayon. No, so since we're experiencing pandemic, so to kill those microorganisms, we are using alcohol, and we also have the hand sanitizer, moisturizer, ayan sila, no, so they contain these products. Now, according to research, endocrine system disruptors is linked to increase the risk of, so if you are if you are exposed to these toxins, since they are considered as toxic agents, endocrine disruptor chemicals, so it is high risk. We are high risk of the following. We have breast cancer, developmental reproductive toxicity, allergies or allergic reaction, and we also have immunotoxicity. Another one, we have neurotoxins. So neurotoxins, by definition, these are the toxins in which they attack the nerve cells. So yung nerve cells natin, these are the cells which are specifically located in our nervous system. And as we all know, nervous system, this is the command center of our body, simply because this is where our brain is located in our nervous system. Now, neurotoxins inhibit the enzyme that regulates the signal transmission between the nerve cells and the tissues or the organs. So as the result, there is no appropriate reactions of your body towards the both internal and external environment, simply because there is already an inhibition happens here. Now, what are the example on how it communicates, or how does your nervous system works? So let's say you saw a snake, and usually if you saw the snake, what will happen? Either you freeze, you run, you cry, you sweat, whatever it is. So these are the most common reactions of your nervous system, telling your body on how you properly react if you face a certain situation. In our example, we have the snake. Okay, now the thing is, if there is a neurotoxins and if it inhibits the enzyme, so therefore your brain, or there is no signal which will be transmitted or will be passed from the nerve cells to your tissues or your organs. So there will be no appropriate response for both internal and external. That's for the external. If you saw a snake, what will happen to you? So of course you will run, you froze, or you cry, whatever, you will sweat, internally, let's say for instance, what you feel that there is a calling of the nature, so what will happen to you? So usually you will experience your erector pili in your integumentary system. I know it's away from our topic already, but yeah, you experience that if there is a calling of the nature, in short, kalibangon ka, so mangurog ka, mataas ang balahibo sa imuhang tingkoy, sa imong kamot. This is how you will react. Okay, this is normal physiological reaction. But of course, there would be impairment if there would be an inhibition of the enzyme to transmit the signals. What else? Responsible for the widespread behavioral and cognitive problems. So, cognitive and behavioral, of course, kasi we are dealing with the nervous system and they are responsible of these things, both behavioral and cognitive. So, what are the examples of neurotoxins? We have lead, we have mercury, we have ether chloroform. We also have here pictures so that you can actually understand the examples. So, we have manganese, yung tin can, here in the soda. Fluoride from toothpaste, chloropyrifos, example of pesticides, DDT or DDE, pesticides pa rin. PERC stands for tetrachloroethylene. So, what are the examples? Yung mga lubricants, mga greases, metal and stone polishers, mga paint and coating, yung mga auto parts and electronic motors. So, ayan siya. Those are the examples of the PERC. And then we also have PBDE. So, polybrominated diphenyl ether. So, example, we have here yung mga foam sa mga furnitures natin. If you have sofa, so ayan sila. What else? Yung mga wire insulations, yung mga upholstery. So, those are the examples of PBDE. We also have arsenic, we have lead sa paint, mercury, toluene sa gas po ito, gasolina, ethanol, this is an alcohol, PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls sa yung mga combustion in the cars. Those are the examples. And then we have mutagen. So, mutagen, by definition, it damages the DNA leading to birth defects or tumor growth, no? So, yung mga mutants, do not be confused. Yung mga mutants, so may mga mutagens dyan that is being introduced to an individual, a living organism, living entities that damage their DNA, their genetic composition. So, it can be passed on to the future generations. Let's say, for instance, if there is a damage in the reproductive cells. So, these are the examples of mutagens. We have radiation, we have chemicals, and infectious agents. For radiation, we have the UV radiation, so both natural sunlight and training beds. For X-rays, we also have medical, dental, and airport security screening. So, meron din if you will, the entry of Davao City, so in Toril and in Lasang, so meron yun siyang mga screening areas. So, of course, it emit an X-rays, which is not good if you were exposed to that for a long duration of time. We also have chemicals here. So, what are the examples? We have the nicotine from the cigarette smoke. We have the nitrite and the nitrate preservatives in the hot dogs and other processed meats. That is why it's not good to eat them all the time. And then we have barbecue, no? So, yung mga mutagenic chemicals which is found in that food. And we also have yung mga acne products, benzoyl peroxides. The third one, we have infectious agents. So, HPV, sexually transmitted virus, which could be passed on, which could be transmitted. And we also have the Helicobacter pylori. This is a bacterial agent that could cause diarrhea. Correct me if I'm wrong. Ayan, so you could get this from contaminated food. And then we have teratogens. So, teratogens, so these are the chemicals that could cause a birth defect. So, meaning to say, there is already a fetus in your body, and once you will introduce this chemical, so there is a birth defect or there is something wrong with the fetus as it keeps on developing. So, it can cause sensory impairment. Sensory, meaning to say, these are the sense organs of the fetus. Vision, hearing, taste, smell, touching, etc. It lacks coordination and disruption of the nervous system. So as much as possible, if you are pregnant for a female, for a woman, do not introduce teratogens to your body. Kaya kailangan sobrang ingat po kasi they are very susceptible, fetus are very susceptible to these chemicals. So imagine, yung mga cliff palate, ayan, tsaka ng mga bungi, no? Or let's say for instance, instead of five fingers, so apat na lang. So those are the examples of the impairment, no? So lacks of coordination, disruption of the nervous system. So dito na papasok yung cognitive and behavioral problems. So what are the examples? We have lead and mercury. And aside from that, we also have here, ayan, so this is very harmful. These are considered as teratogens and very harmful for developing fetus for pregnant woman, to avoid them. Example, we have nicotine from the cigarettes. It's not good if the smoker is near to a pregnant woman. We have virus, we have protozoa, ayan sila mga infectious agent. We also have alcohol, so bawal po yung alcohol for a pregnant woman. Mga drugs, ayan siya. Though meron siya, but it would help to the development of the baby. So yung mga paracetamol, I do not know with the paracetamol. I think it's safe, or say we have biogesic, but yeah, you need to consult with your doctor first. Mga prescription drugs, yung mga may mga RX, no? So may mga maintenance, so you need to consult that with the physician. And we also have the radiation. And then we have, this is actually the last classification of toxic agents, carcinogens. So carcinogens, by definition, these are the substances that promotes cancer development. So carcinogen, cancerous, cancer, do not be what, no? So parang silingan lang po sila, do not forget that. It may cause cancer by altering cellular metabolism or damaging the DNA directly in the cells. And basically, once the carcinogens will be introduced into our body, it interferes the normal biological processes. So what are the examples? So parang same lang po sila. So we have viruses, infectious agent, radiation, smoke, alcohol, what else, combustion from the car, sa mga chemicals, etc., etc. Okay, so I think that's it. So in this session, we defined already what is environmental health, what is health, what is disease, what is toxicology, and what are toxins, specifically the classification of the toxic agents and what are their effect to human health. So I hope you learned something from this session.